This timeout is sponsored by Augie's Locker Room. Augie's features the largest collection of Notre Dame football memorabilia and gifts, including rare and hard-to-find items.
Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Tim Prister with Tim O'Malley and John Brice of Irish Illustrated outside of Notre Dame Stadium. We just spent 30 minutes with Marcus Freeman, and we're talking depth chart among many things. We've known all along that Rocco Spindler and Pat Coogan, at least the last couple of weeks, is going to be would be the starting guards. Jabron Payne is not the starting running back, but he is number 2 behind Audric Estime, and to actually see that in print is a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, these are all surprises as of June. Not if you've been following along in August camp, of course, but it's Marcus Freeman mentioned they've all been physical. It's that Coogan and Spindler have been more consistent, and I think that's great news because I knew Billy Schropp was physical, and I knew Spindler could be physical, and we knew looking at Pat Coogan he could be physical. The two most consistent guys out there, it's very important to not have missed assignments when you're trying to work as a cohesive unit. Of all people that should assuage their worries, this is you're worried about the guards coming in. He's going with the two more consistent guards, and they're all physical anyway. That should be, as we get into September, there's no finished product in week 1 for an offensive line. That should be the best case scenario, those guards playing with those tremendous tackles.
We know Audric Estime's in the lead role at running back, and there's a whole bunch of good ones behind him. Jabron Payne, just as Dylan McCullough indicated a couple weeks ago, that he's been the more consistent of the running backs. You know that Jadarian Price and Devin Ford and Jeremiah Love have a lot of talent, but Jabron Price has been the most consistent in the most aspects of the position.
Yeah, we delved into the Jabron Payne situation in depth on Friday's podcast, and I think we're all a little bit surprised, but it's not a surprise at this point in that he has consistently been the running back that coaches have really gone out of their way to mention. Not in a way that they're propping him up, but just in a way to say, hey, this guy has had a really good camp. He has been among their most consistent, highest graded players at any position, not just the running back position, and the coaches have continued to feed him and continued to amplify his workload over the course of camp. He's responded in every way fashionable, and again, I think the Notre Dame running back room is not only a key strength for this program, but I think it's one of the best running back rooms in all of America, and I think we'll start to see that Saturday in Dublin.
The biggest mistake a reporter can make is asking a head coach or any coach if they're surprised by something. So when I asked Marcus Freeman about the defensive line, I admitted that I think us in the media have been a little bit surprised with the depth and the talent along the defensive line. I said interior defensive line particularly, and then Marcus Freeman said, you know what? I have been a little bit surprised.
Yeah, we were. We mentioned it last week, actually. I was like, look, we're not the judge here. You are, but we did not see that coming. We thought, hey, quality players, some good players up there. Let's see what they can get. I went so far as to say for the whole summer they have 8 backups, and that's not a compliment because I meant including the starters. Right. I don't feel that way anymore. I think they have 4 starters inside. They have a couple starters right there in the middle. It's going to be a good defensive line. Now, is there going to be an easy differentiator where if you go back to 2018, this line is deeper than 2018, but those 4 guys lined up in 2018, and on any passing situation, they could get there without any help. That's the one's difference, I think, right now. Jalen Sneed is going to help in that regard. Maris Leofau is going to help in that regard. And it's just crucial that JJB and Jordan Botello have good seasons in situational pass rushing situations.
Speaking of Jalen Sneed, his name came up along the way, and Marcus Freeman said that Jalen Sneed would play a significant role for this team. We anticipate being rushing the passer, but you got to find a way to get an athlete like that on the field. This is a veteran defense. It's a veteran linebacking crew, but you have to find a way to accentuate and take advantage of Jalen Sneed's abilities.
Yeah, great point, Tim. And again, another point that we've hammered home over the course of August. Jalen Sneed got off, I think, to a tough start as camp opened at the end of July and the first week of August. But then he bounced back. He showed some maturity with how he handled some early adversity. And I think it's telling that all indications are that Jalen Sneed won't just be a factor for this Notre Dame defense on third down, rush the passer situations. He's going to play. He's their fourth linebacker right now. He's obviously going to start on some special teams units, but I think they're very much enticed by what he brings to the table, and they want to go ahead and utilize that sooner rather than later. And then quickly to Tim's point on the defensive line, Javonte Jean-Baptiste is a guy that's getting some quiet comparisons in the Goog to an Isaiah Foskey with maybe a little bit better athleticism, not quite yet the football knowledge and understanding that Foskey had by the time he finished up as a record holder at Notre Dame. So I think that's something very pertinent to pay attention to.
This is the first opportunity we've had to speak with Marcus Freeman since he named the captains, 4 captains, of course, on offense, Joe Alt and Sam Hartman, on defense, J.D. Bertrand and Cam Hart. It was interesting that Marcus Freeman said that 10 players received double-digit votes. Now, there's a lot of guys voting, so yeah, but still, 10 guys with double digits is pretty unique, and it's really all part of when Marcus Freeman came in. He said they had a really great camp. And he said the 3 things that they wanted to do was build depth, where they mixed in the backups with the number ones, and then have a physical preseason, but keep them healthy in the process, which they've been able to do. They're just 2 surgeries. They both happened here recently. Kevin Bauman and Aiden Gobira both having ACL surgery, and then increasing leadership. And that's my whole point of all this is when you have 10 guys getting double-digit votes, you've increased the leadership on your team.
Well, we're going to talk to 2 of them, I bet, tomorrow, and Nana Safamensa and DJ Brown. Right. I'm sure Michael Vincent's another one. We mentioned that. There's plenty of guys that we were surprised weren't captains only because they could have been captains. It doesn't mean it's not a good choice one way or the other. There's plenty of guys out there. Jack Kaiser, for a long time, has been a respected voice. We talked about the lack of injuries, and everybody's knocking on wood. We're shocked how it's going. It is clearly there's some luck involved, obviously, but it's clearly intentional how they pulled back a little bit. They learned the sports nutrition performance group has really had a say, and Marcus Freeman's listening to them now. I think it's relevant, and next year when there's a couple extra injuries, it's not because they failed. There is some good fortune involved in this, but they are as fresh as they could be to start a season. That's all you can really ask for. You can't stay fresh every week during a football season. You're going to lose someone to injury, but this is the way you want to start off. And I think Freeman, it was good to hear Freeman say, I'm glad we're playing Navy in the first week. Yeah. Coaches don't normally admit those things. He's absolutely right. You should be ready, fully healthy, to go take care of business in Dublin.
We did talk about Navy. That is the upcoming opponent, and certainly, Brian Newberry is making his head coaching debut for Navy. Grant Chestnut is their offensive coordinator. He comes from Kennesaw State. So there is a lot of unknown. There's always unknown with Navy because you don't practice against it often enough, but there's no doubt. And Marcus Freeman, I thought it was interesting that he didn't hesitate to say, yes, it's a huge advantage to open the season with them. But he also talked about defensively, it's a unique look. It's a veteran defense. So you have a lot to really prepare for. But it sure is good to open the season with Navy.
It is, and again, this is Notre Dame facing a Navy team that, yes, it has a new offensive coordinator, but Notre Dame has faced Navy now every year since 2021 and would have faced them in 20 if not for the pandemic. I think that's significant because there are a number of guys on Notre Dame's defensive side of the ball that have faced that Navy offense, and yes, it's got some modifications. I still find that very significant. One other thing, obviously, Chase Ketterer's still around. He's sort of the unsung MVP, or as Marcus Freeman said already, he will be the scout team MVP this week regardless because of everything he brings to that position. And one final thing on the health of this team and the freshness of this team going into game week and to the season opener against Navy. Hugely significant, in my opinion, is that we're hearing all these great things about what Notre Dame did in the month of August. Let's remember, guys, Matt Balis abruptly resigned on the eve of training camp. So Notre Dame is exiting training camp with what Marcus Freeman very clearly believes is an extremely fresh, ready team that is going to be capable of going full throttle, and it did it with adversity literally from the first day of camp onward.
I may have buried the lead a little bit from a couple of days ago. We didn't mention Zeke Corral, and Zeke Corral is in position to practice today on Monday, so we expect him to be in the lineup. They need him in the lineup. That's another veteran presence up there with the 2 new guards surrounding him. So we're going to wrap up here from Notre Dame Stadium. That's it for today's Irish Illustrated Instant Analysis. We're going to head out and record our Irish Illustrated Insider podcast right after this. Thanks for joining us. Tim Prister, Tim O'Malley, John Brice. This is Irish Illustrated.